Afternoon.
So whenever you're ready, Rob.
Just wait for the live link.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Declan, it's Rob Dorsey from Sky Sports News. Lovely to see you. What a season it's been for you. Does it feel like this has been a breakthrough season for you, both club and country?
100%, yeah. I think if I look back to the start of the season where, I started at Liverpool, got dragged at half time and then missed out on 3 or 4 of the next games. And then I come back in for the Everton one and I just kicked on. And like you said, it's been pretty much of a whirlwind season for me. It's one that I've dreamed of for sure. And it's one that, I never thought would probably happen, but it has. And, I've just got to take it in my stride.
If somebody had told you this time last year, or even last August when you had that difficult experience at Liverpool, that you'd start 33 of West Ham's last 34 games, that you'd be with England preparing for the Nations League finals as well, would you have believed them?
Probably not, no. The consistency is key. I've kept myself in good shape to play pretty much every game this season. I've been lucky enough to have the manager that's put the trust in me, along with my teammates as well. Being the youngest player in the squad and playing week in, week out, they give me the confidence to go out there and perform at the level I've been performing at.
And your season could end with a significant piece of silverware as well. Just how important is this Nations League for you and the England squad?
It's massive, not only for me but for the whole squad and the nation. It's the first time to win the first Nations League and to win a trophy for England since the first time since 1966. So, that's massive for us as a nation, and the players are fully aware of that, and we're looking to go out there and do the business.
You were probably aware of the fact that before you made the call to switch across to England, we were discussing you an awful lot with Gareth Southgate. There was an awful lot of coverage in the newspapers and on our channel as well. But now that you've switched your allegiance, are you starting to feel comfortable around St George's Park and comfortable within this England squad?
100%. I felt comfortable the moment I walked through the doors for my first camp back in March. All the lads made me feel welcome. I knew most of them anyway from playing against them. And, one thing I can say, Gareth, he's really got this squad together, and, all the lads really, really get on, and no one's left out. They will make you feel really comfortable. And I'm really grateful for that.
You talk about that close-knit group of players, and that's been very obvious from the World Cup and since.
Yeah.
Of course, a lot of those players are playing each other in a Champions League final. He's said, the manager, that he wants to make sure that bond continues. Are you sure it will?
100%, yeah, I've seen it firsthand here, the likes of the Spurs and Liverpool players. We all get on really, really well, and so do they. Of course, the Champions League final, one of the biggest games in football, they're both going to want to get an edge over each other. But I'm sure once that's done, their focus will be fully on the Nations League.
I'm going to ask you a really unfair question now. Who do you think is going to win it, Spurs or Liverpool?
That's a hard one for me to answer, to be honest with you. To be fair, whoever wins it don't really bother me. I just want our players to perform well. I think that's the main thing, and no injuries, of course.
Nicely done. Yeah, I know you guys have got a WhatsApp group, and a lot of the England players are very close. There's a lot of banter going on about the Champions League at the moment. There's lots of discussion about what might happen. You know what?
I haven't spoke to the Spurs or Liverpool lads, but around the camp here, there's a lot of banter going on, saying what's going to happen when they come back, etc., etc. But everyone's positive. Everyone's sure that when they come back here, they're going to be fully focused on trying to win the first trophy for England since 1966, and I think that's what everyone's looking towards.
It's a complicated build-up. We've just been talking about it here, that there's not a lot of lads here. 17 players available for training today. It was 11 last week. Yeah. What sort of impact has that had? It must be quite a strange one.
Yeah, Gareth and Steve have structured it really well. The season ended, they gave us a week off, fully off our feet. And like you said, 11 of us come in last week, and the training was tough, getting ourselves back into it. And this week, Jaden and the City boys have joined us, so we've been able to open up the areas a little bit and work on what we've been wanting to do in the games.
The Netherlands, it seems to me, have got maybe a similar group of players to England at the moment, in an exciting group of young players. Yeah. It's quite a talented young squad. How do you compare their nucleus of players with ours? I'm talking about De Ligt and Frankie de Jong, those sorts of players. Van Dijk, Wijnaldum, the list goes on. But how does that compare, do you think, as a squad to England's young, exciting squad? There's some similarities there, aren't there?
Yeah, for sure. I think it's pretty much the same, to be honest. There's a mixture of proper experienced heads in the Netherlands squad and, some really young players coming through. They're really, really exciting. I think everyone see that in the Champions League. The likes of De Ligt, De Jong, Van der Beek. They're great players. But in our squad as well, we've got fantastic young players that have performed at such a high standard this season. So, we know the game against Netherlands is going to be tough, but it's one that we're confident of for sure.
And England have beaten Croatia and Spain to get here. So does that give a lot of belief when you go into another team as highly ranked and highly classed as Netherlands?
Definitely. Like you said then, we beat Croatia to get to the Nations League and we put in a great performance against Spain. And I'm sure we're going to be doing that again against Holland. We're working on things that, we're going to try and replicate on match day. And, we're confident of that.
The season for you and for West Ham finished incredibly strongly. I think you took 7 points out of the last 9. Mm-hmm. How much confidence does that give you, especially with that big win over Watford on the last day, when you come into an England camp like this with your head held high? Loads of confidence. As a club, West Ham, we ended the season really well. It was a bit of an up and down season for us. But like I said, we ended it well. And when you come into a camp like this, you're surrounded by top players who are playing at the top. And the confidence is high. I come in, I express myself, so I'm confident, and I think that's the main thing you've got to be. Saw you playing against the under-21s today. Yeah. How was that? It looked pretty competitive out there. Yeah, it was really good. Great preparation for us because we finally had to work in some bigger areas, and it's good preparation for the 21s as well. Obviously, they've got the finals coming up, so it was good to get a couple of minutes under our belts today, and yeah, it was good. What was the final score? 4-0, was it? I think it might have been 5. Was it? Yeah, I think so. Anything said about that? No, nothing. We was working on things that we want to try and replicate in the Holland game. And I think AD Bruford, they had 2 different teams out. They were working on different things as well. But no, it was a fair game. It was tough, but we was just really clinical in front of goal, which is what we want to see. Thanks, Dave.
How will you reflect? Is it still difficult to sort of work out in your head how amazing this year has been? Just go back to 12 months ago and obviously your international situation to now. Yeah, it's like I said earlier, it's been crazy. For me to have thought that I'd be playing as a regular for West Ham in the Premier League at 19 and 20, something that you've sometimes got to pinch yourself on, but it's one that you've got to take in your stride as well, and that's what I'm trying to do. And while you've shown real mental toughness, there is a lot of interest in you at the moment in terms of other clubs. Is that something you're aware of, and how are you dealing with that? No, everything's good. I know there's speculation, but during the season last year, I just signed a new 5-year contract with West Ham. So my focus is fully on playing for West Ham. I've got a great connection with the fans. The fans love me, I love them, and that's the way it is at the moment. I'm not thinking about anything else for sure.
Hi, Declan. Declan, you talked about that Liverpool game, when you came off at half-time. How difficult was it for you? And what went through your mind? And, what do you think about when something like that happens? Well, I said this in an interview a couple of months back, that after the game when I got dragged, I thought that I wasn't cut out for the Premier League. I was obviously, after the first game, the transfer window still open, and I was honestly thinking about going to speak to the manager to maybe go on loan somewhere, because that was tough that day to play against Liverpool. We got beat 4-0. Mentally, it's tough. But the manager said, look, you're going to get another chance. You need to keep working. And that's what I done. I got my head down. I took on the advice of the older senior players like Nobes and Cresswell. And, I just kept working hard, got my head down, and then that opportunity come again against Everton. And, I took it, and I haven't looked back since. When you look now and, the people are talking about your £50 million player and things like that, Frankie de Jong is similarly, there's a comparison between the two of you. You look at someone like him and how he plays and the way he's sort of performing on the bigger stages. Is that what you want as well? Yeah, definitely. I think when you start out in football, for sure, you always want to play at the top. You want to play in the Champions Leagues. I think if you was in football and you didn't want to do that, there'd be no point playing. But the likes of De Jong, like you said, he's got his move to Barcelona, and it's fully deserved. He's a top player. I think you see that in the Champions League, and it'll be great to come up against him in the Nations League.
Declan, Gareth seems to see you as in this kind of midfield holding role. Why do you think players that are good at that role, and you've already demonstrated you are pretty good at it, why do you think you're at such a premium? Why are they so? What's so difficult about it? Why are people like you quite rare?
I don't know. I wouldn't say I'm rare because there's a lot of great holding midfielders out there. I'm really fortunate as well that I can play at centre half, and I think that's helped me a lot. When I first broke in at West Ham, I was a centre half under David Moyes, and then Pellegrini's transformed me, and obviously Gareth sees me as a holding midfielder. It's just one of them ones where you just got to keep working, and you just got to keep the interest out of your head and keep doing the best.
But sorry, just to keep going. Do you think you're a really good reader of the game? I mean, when you're in that position, do you think you see the game? Is it one of your sort of talents?
Yeah, well, like I said, where I was growing up as a centre half, you've got to be top. If you look at the top centre halves, they read the game excellently. And as I've stepped into midfield, I've kind of took that with me. I'd say for sure it's one of my strong points, to get myself into the positions where the defenders would want you, or to intercept a pass. But for sure, I would say my reading of the game is one of my strengths.
Sorry, two questions. First of all, since your experience of coming into the squad, what is it? What qualities do you think the manager values the most? You spoke about consistency in your own game being important. Is that something he values? And what other qualities do you think?
Oh, not just for me. I think for the whole team. The way we play is the way he's transformed our style of play is special. Obviously, you have to have the quality. But they're really massive here on your mentality. Loads of the lads here at top 6 clubs, and the mentality there is top. They want to set out to win big things. They want to try and win trophies, and Gareth's trying to take that mentality into the England squad, and it's really coming in because we all believe this summer that we can go out to the Nations League and beat Holland and then beat whoever we have in the final.
And to follow on from that, I mean, how important do you think it is for this young England team's development that you win a trophy? Got very close in Russia, not quite there. How important is it that you win this Nations League?
I think it's massive. I think it's really important. We've got ourselves into the semi-final, and we've got a massive chance now to create history. With the squad that Gareth has brought in, with the players that we have, for sure we've got to be looking at winning that Nations League. And I think if we do that, in the future as well, that will stand us in good stead for like the Euros and other World Cups.
Declan, a lot's been discussed about how hard it is for young players and young English players in particular to break through at Premier League clubs. You've obviously done that so successfully this season. Why do you think you have done that, and how does it feel to have, as you said at the start of the season, you thought, I might not be ready for the Premier League, but how does it feel to have done that?
It feels special. Not only me, I think there's a whole host of, top English talent out there that maybe haven't had the chance yet, but I know have got the quality to maybe get their chance. And I'm really fortunate that all the managers that I've had, Bilic, Moyes and Pellegrini, have all seen the qualities that I've got, and they've all trusted me to play. I'm one that I've had a lot of setbacks in football, being released at 14 from Chelsea, or a load of other setbacks, and it's one of them things you've just got to take on, and my mentality's strong from that. I'll say that's probably one of the top things that's got me to where I am today, is my mentality.
And just another question. I wanted to know, you mentioned there about this is the first chance to win a trophy for England since '66. Yeah. How is the Nations League seen by the England players, by the England camp? I think it's going to be discussed next week, especially if England win. It's going to be this major trophy. But at the moment, we don't know where its place is amongst the World Cup and the European Championships.
No, I think for us for sure it's massive. Always when you've got a chance to win a trophy, it's massive. And between the lads, we know that it's a serious trophy. We've got ourselves into the semi-final. We're not seeing it as a pushover at all. We're all here during the summer, and we're all setting out to go out there and give a good account of ourselves.
Hi, Declan. Obviously, you're preparing for massive international games, but the way that you talk about being dragged off at Liverpool and the next chance that you get at Everton, there's more pressure on your performance at Everton, presumably, than when you're preparing for these games, because it's making or breaking your career ultimately.
Yeah, you're right. I remember being in the hotel and thinking, like you just said then, this game is probably more pressure than Liverpool, because the manager's going to want to see how I've reacted since the Liverpool game. You know, going into that game, I remember I was confident. You know, I didn't try to think too much about the Liverpool game because that was the past. And you know, that day I think it was our first win of the season as well. So everything was a real nice buzz about it.
So this is easy then in comparison.
No, I wouldn't say it's easy because you know, when you put on the shirt for your country, you know, it's always tough. You're always coming up against great teams, great oppositions, and you know, you've got to be ready always.
Last one or two from that.
Specifically, can you talk about, because of that pressure that was on you, how you dealt with that pressure the week following the West Ham against the Liverpool match, and going on from that, how critical for the breakthrough of young players, how important is mental strength and keeping that balance and keeping that belief in comparison to actually the basics of being able to play the game?
I think it's massive. You know, as a youngster, I think you've always got to have a strong mentality, you know, because I don't think there's one footballer that's never had not a setback. And it's about obviously how you overcome it. And with me, you know, like I said, I've had quite a lot of setbacks in football. I've been knocked back a few times, but you know, I've always kept level-headed, and I've always thought that, you know, there is light at the end. You know, I've just worked really hard myself personally, you know, to get to where I am today, and you know, that's what I'd probably put it down to: my hard work, my mentality, and how I think about the game.
And how you dealt with that week? Maybe talking with your family, friends. I mean, what kind of advice you'd taken on? Yeah,
it was tough. You know, I speak to my dad after every game, and I remember getting back to mum and dad. They were there that day. You know, I was gutted speaking to them, and you know, I was saying to them, look, I don't think I'm ready. And obviously, as a mum and dad do, they reassure you that you're good enough and that you'd get another chance. And you know, after I spoke to my dad, I thought, you know what, there's no point dwelling on it. I need to work hard. You know, get back to training. We was back on the Monday. You know, I really worked hard for 4 weeks. It's tough being left out of squads when the lads are playing on Saturdays, and you know, you get a smell of it. You want to be playing in the Premier League, and you know, I put it down to that Everton game. You know, them 4 weeks where I probably had to look back at it, reflected on it, and you know, knew I was probably good enough to go and have another chance, and lucky enough, I did take it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.